Hey everyone, thanks for joining. This is Mosaic Property Solutions. My name is Stephanie. I'm here with my co-host Zach Weaver, and you are on WINT Integrity Radio, 101.5 FM, 1330 AM. Today we have a guest on. We have Dave Duggan from Fund That Flip, and we brought him on because we think it's truly very important to make sure that you guys know what your financial tools are out there when it comes to the finance end of what it means to be a real estate investor or to be in real estate, how in any capacity. So before we get started, I'll just have Dave introduce himself and say a little bit about himself.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Again, my name is David Duggan. I am with Fund That Flip. I oversee the Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania territories. So what I do is I manage a credit fund in those regions for the company. And so I work with real estate investors and really exclusively real estate investors that specialize or have a specialty in the residential space. I've spent a little over 7 years in the real estate finance space. A portion of that was with a self-directed IRA custodian and working with real estate investors to help with their estate planning and help with investing through those sort of retirement planning tools and other sort of financial buckets that you can use. And then since then, I've moved on to more of the loan origination space and capital lending space. And so that's what I've been doing over the last couple of years. And I appreciate the two of you having me on.
Dave, that's awesome. We're today we want to go over a little bit about the capital stack and how you line up all your different sources of money and funds for the various projects. Would you start off just telling us a little bit about what is a capital stack, how it works, what your role in that is?
Yeah, absolutely, Zach. So the capital stack is the term that we use to describe, the different sources of financing for people that are in the real estate space. That comes in multiple different forms, right? Most investors that have been doing this for any period of time have a capital stack, which consists of, could be a hard or soft money lender, somebody like Fund That Flip or myself, various different private money lenders, which can be people using their IRA accounts, cash from their own bank accounts. It can be
uncles,
aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, moms, dads, whomever. So we see a lot of that, and banking relationships certainly. And so there's multiple different areas where investors can source capital from. Seller financing can be another one of those as well. And each investor has kind of a different way that they can morph that capital stack to fit their business best. Normally what we do is we try and be a component in that capital stack, understanding, hey, what is our role within any given investor or developer's business, and how can we best fill that role for them. Make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've done a few deals ourselves that involve some of those different capital stacks per se, where we've used some money as ours, some money is hard money, some money is soft money, so to speak. You mix and you match, right?
Yeah.
So I guess for me, one of the good example is we purchased a property about 2 years ago, a little duplex, two little cottages sitting on a single lot, but there was also a vacant lot attached to it. For me, we knew we were going to split off the lot. That was part of the deal. We saw the value in the vacant lot, whereas the seller saw no value in the vacant lot and basically priced it, according to the value of the two little cottages. So for me, it was a huge win. We got the two little cottages at a good deal, and we got this vacant lot. But the problem was, if I went through a traditional bank, I couldn't split off the lot because the bank's going to put a mortgage across the whole thing. And then you can't split off the lot until you've paid off the mortgage. So, on that one, we used a private lender, just a private lender that I knew had some funds. He was willing to lend it to us for a short period of time. So we borrowed the money from him, got the property free and clear, split off the lot, sold the lot, paid him back. And then, we were able to regularly finance the cottages after that point once the lot was already split. So.
Yeah, and I think it's important to acknowledge that every deal is going to warrant a different approach to your capital stack. So I don't want people to think you have a checklist, and if number one is, if you use all those funds, that you're just moving on to number two. Every acquisition is going to involve a different strategy. I think my husband and I, we primarily lean on our home equity line of credit. And that's for us to be able to buy properties outright and then ultimately refinance them if we want to. It's also that in buying them outright, we can then stick them in our LLC. It kind of gives us that ability to do that should we want to.
Absolutely. And a lot of properties aren't traditionally bank lendable. So you need to buy them outright, get the repairs done, and then you can get them to the bank to loan at a long-term fixed rate or a 5-year adjustable rate mortgage. But you need someone in the interim to finance that. And whether it's your home equity line, whether it's fund that flip, whether it's private money, somewhere you need to pull this capital together, and that's the capital stack, right? That's I can put down 20% myself. I can bring another 40% in from a private lender. I can pull some out of my home equity line so that I get this property purchased, free and clear, renovated, repaired, and then back to traditional finance, and I pay everybody off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those are both really good examples. I would think, I would say that private money is great, and I'll tell any investor, if you have access to private money, go out and get that, right? It's flexible, it's fast, it's easy, right? And generally, it's it's as simple as a good networking conversation, and somebody can stroke you a check if the project looks nice enough to them, right?
Right.
The issue with private money is at some point it becomes finite. There's only so much of it out there. That's why, like I said, if you have access to it, go and get it, right? And for any investor that's looking to scale their business to any certain point, usually they run out of that private money, or they get sick of, hey, I'm tired of chasing down private money. I want something that's a little bit more consistent, whether that is more of a true hard money lender, some very solid banking relationships, or somebody like Fund That Flip, who has a little bit of horsepower behind them. So I don't want to say infinite, right? I always hesitate to use the word infinite capital, but basically, somebody that you're not going to outrun their capital in your business. So a great example for you, Zach, about, hey, you found the two lots, the two condo, or the cottages, right? And private money worked great for you because it was easy, it was fast, and it fit what the private money lender was looking for. Maybe if you were buying a portfolio of 10 of those, might be a little more challenging to bring in private money on that.
Well, and absolutely, and even on that one, my private lender was, again, the money was finite. I had to put a lot of my own money in there to get it free and clear because my private lender just didn't have enough funds to cover the whole thing. So yeah, I really like that aspect of Fund That Flip, where you have a big enough resource base behind you that any project I bring you, you're going to be able to fund the whole thing. Sure, I might pay a higher interest rate than I do from my buddy down the road, but it's also right, potentially. Yes. But there's a peace of mind. There's a knowing that it's going to happen. There's an established relationship, and I can go back to you again, and not my buddy down the road who had the money then, but now he just went and bought a new car and doesn't have any money.
Well, and if the numbers still work out, whatever the terms are, then it's still a solid investment. And you just need to know that it's going to close, and that there is a timeline, and that there is a partnership there that's got your back and is going to see it through.
Right, and all reality is, most of these loans are short-term loans. They're not 5, 10, 20-year loans. We're talking about, when we start talking about hard money, soft money, private money, typically they're shorter-term loans. So the interest rate isn't as big of a deal when my loan in that case was 90 days. It didn't really matter 1 or 2, 3% on the interest rate for a 90-day loan. What mattered was the loan, was getting the deal closed so that I could, get the properties. Because if I couldn't close the deal, I couldn't get the properties.
Right, and I think a lot of what we're talking about here is kind of that front-end financing. How are you going to accomplish the acquisition? How are you going to accomplish the rehab component and add that value to whether it's a fix and flip property, a fix-to-rent property, or even new build construction? And I think what we're not talking about is kind of that long-term back-end financing, which, not really a space that we're in right now. I know, Zach, I'm sure you probably have several relationships there as well as you, Stephanie. But, yeah, I think, for the purposes of our listeners, right, what we're really discussing is that front-end short-term financing. And to your point, whether it's 4% or 15%, if it's a 90-day loan, what's the difference, right?
Right. You're talking a couple $100, if that.
Yeah.
And I mean, typically when you're doing these are projects returning in the thousands of dollars. It's the interest rate is, like I said, it's almost irrelevant because it's such a short-term loan.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I wanted to discuss with the two of you and our listeners is kind of, what the difference is between a bank money, a fund that flip, or a soft money lender and a hard money lender, and even private money, from the standpoint of, like, what do these different terms look like? What do these different interest rates look like? Those sort of things. And we can dive deeper into that later. But I think, from a high level view, bank money, it is great. It's dirt cheap. It's fantastic. But it doesn't serve your purpose as an investor if you want to close in 2 weeks or 30 days, right? If you have 60 or 90 days to wait, bank's probably not the best option for your short-term financing, right?
Absolutely. And before we go too far into that, we're about done with this segment. I got one real quick question before we end this segment. So we're talking about this capital stack. With that, how do you fit in, or how do you work with, I know, like, when I go get a loan from the bank, I have to bring my money and only my money, and the bank will bring their money and only their money. How are your terms? Do you work with the other components in this puzzle? Like, if I got a little bit of private money, I got some of my own money, how can I still do business with you? Because I know the bank, it's a 1-2 relationship, right?
Yeah.
They won't allow money to be gifted to me or given to me. They want to know that I funded it on my own.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we work with real estate investors and exclusively real estate investors, right? So we understand, real estate investors, they typically aren't sitting on piles of cash, because if they are, that money is not working for them, right? It's sitting stagnant and not earning you money. So we don't expect people to have piles of cash. And oftentimes our investors, or our borrowers rather, will find what we call gap money, right? So if I finance 85% of the purchase, they'll find a gap funder to come in and bring that extra 15%. And so we really have no concern on where that comes from or who that comes from. As long as you can say, hey, I've got the liquidity to carry me through this job, that's all that we're concerned about, right? So
that's good to hear, because that and that's really it, right? Your concern is that the project's going to get completed, and the liquidity's there to do the project in its entirety. You don't care who's funding what.
Exactly, right? Show me that you've got enough cash to get you to your exit strategy, combined with what we provide as your lender. And that'll make us happy. And, once you demonstrate you've done that once, and we'll trust you to do it every other time, and until you fail to do that, right? But that doesn't happen. So
for any of our listeners out there who have approached other financial institutions or banks for this similar conversation, that message probably lands pretty differently. You're used to knowing what you have to do to approach a bank, what paperwork, what research, and all the things that you have to provide. So, guys, listen up. This is really good stuff to be thinking about as you compare your tools and know what's out there for you, either with this deal or the next. But we've got a lot of really great content coming up, and we're going to take a quick break here. You're listening to Stephanie and Zach on Mosaic Property Solutions with our guest, Dave Duggan from Fund That Flip on WINT Integrity Radio, 101.5 FM, 1330 AM, and we'll be back after these messages.
Want to get your life back and gain control of your health? Call a family-owned business in Euclid, Infield Chiropractic. Dr. Paul Infield and Dr. Kara Berger provide hands-on active care for families, kids, active seniors, and anyone wanting better health. Dr. Paul's philosophy is get your life back, empowering you to take control of your health. Your calls are greeted by a welcoming smile. The doctors at Infield Chiropractic provide sports physicals year-round for $25. Visit Infield Chiropractic on Lakeshore Boulevard in Euclid or infieldchiropracticclinic.com.
Think spring. Shop small. Shop local. Shop downtown Euclid. Start your day by stopping into Bananas for Bikes, a unique vintage bike shop offering tune-ups, repairs, and refurbished used bikes at a decent price or a quick fix. And check out the Basement Museum of 40-plus-year-old bikes. While waiting on your bike, go next door to JB's Barbershop for a quick haircut, beard trim, shampoo, or to schedule an appointment. JB's Barbershop offers senior and military discounts. Bananas for Bikes and JB's Barbershop. Think big. Shop small. Shop local. Shop downtown Euclid.
May is Electrical Safety Awareness Month. Hi, this is Camilla from WINT Radio. Surges can damage your home's appliances and electronics, including computers, cell phones, sound equipment, TVs, dryers, refrigerators, HVAC systems, and more. Surge protection is necessary for your home's electrical safety. This May, look around your home for flickering lights, outlets that don't work, or power outages that happen frequently. These are signaling electrical problems in your home. I recommend locally owned Strub Electric. Be safe this summer. Visit strubelectric.com.
Welcome back to Mosaic Property Solutions on WINT Integrity Radio, 101.5 FM, 1330 AM. I'm here with my co-host Stephanie Hyde, and we have Dave Duggan here today with us with Fund That Flip. Dave, we finished the last segment talking a little bit about the capital stack. What is the capital stack, and basically how you get the loan financed. The next question I got for you is, how do I get financed? How do I become that borrower that you want to lend to? So, you've got to be the borrower that I want to loan from, but on the flip side, I have to be the borrower you want to lend to. So what are you looking for from a borrower?
Yeah, great question, Zach. So I think we do get a lot of questions about what makes a borrower attractive, right? Not only how do I qualify for a loan with Fund That Flip, but in general, like, what makes a borrower attractive? And I think it depends on who you're working with. Certainly, if you go to a bank, they're going to want, hey, show me good credit scores, good income. I want to see tax returns. I want to see, kind of a pro forma.
Yeah, I know with the banks, it's, from my experience has always been, it's real black, white. They give you a list of documents they want, you give them the documents back, and then they basically say yes or no, and, we'll move forward, we won't move forward, and then...
It's a pass-fail, black and white. Yeah.
Right, and it's really predetermined almost. And at this point in my career, I know, when I even apply for a loan with a bank, I just send them the email with all the documents right up front, and and they just come back yes or no. And I know for you guys operate a little bit different than that. So, So what are you looking? Because the bank only cares if I'm an attractive investor to the bank is if I have 20% down.
Well, and on the opposite side of that spectrum, I want to ask too, if you're approaching a private money lender, I imagine they're almost the antithesis of that, right? The exact opposite, where it's just like, hey, had some good personal references, you're a good guy, and the project seems good, so here's a handshake and here's your money, right?
Right. Yeah, that's how the private money works. Yeah. Basically, it's based on the personal reference, relationship, and absolutely none on the financial. They look at the project and they look at you and they say, yeah, let's do it.
The value of the property should exceed the loan amount. There's a little, I would hope, a little bit more than here's a wad of cash, see you later, have fun.
I guess it depends on who you're approaching for money, right? There's some sophisticated private money lenders, and there's some people that just somehow have some deep pockets and want to throw around.
Right. A lot of private money is family and friends, right? Yeah. And bottom line is those people aren't doing the due diligence that the bank is going to do. Right. And you're somewhere in between the two.
Exactly. So we're going to be somewhere in between the two. We try and be not a bank, right? I'll go back to what I had said earlier is we work exclusively with real estate investors. Real estate investors, they don't sit on piles of cash. They keep their money working for them, and they often have odd-looking tax returns, right? They don't have standard W-2 income. They make their money in a different way, and banks see that and they freak out and have a panic attack. We see that and we don't even look at it, quite frankly. I'll never ask you for tax returns. I'll never ask you for W-2 income or proof of income. All I want to see is do you have a track record of good execution, right? Have you done a couple of deals? What have those deals looked like? What types of deals are you doing? And just understanding your business, right? And how you've executed. And then, do you have a history of paying your bills, right? Show me a credit score that's somewhere north of 600 or so, and that'll make me happy. And do you have some liquidity, right? While we do finance a large chunk of the deal, there's still a cash component that we ask our borrowers to bring into the deal, right? Some of it is on the front end. Some might come throughout the course of construction on the project. So while it's, while we do finance a large chunk of it, it's still a cash-intensive business. So we want to see that our borrowers maintain some sort of liquidity. And if, the people that we work with, they check those boxes, which, it's not a whole lot to ask for compared to some other types of financing resources. If they check those boxes and you continue to execute, that's where I can say, hey, I can really help you scale your business, and I'll fund every one of your deals as long as you can maintain those things that we've already discussed. Mm-hmm. Make sense?
Yep, absolutely. So, basically, you're looking for people with track records of success. That's probably what makes you the most attractive is that track record. You've done a couple, you've been successful at them, so it gives you that confidence that we know what we're doing.
100%, and we look for what we call compensating factors, right? So experience is the big one. If you've got a great track record of experience, that compensates for a lot of other shortcomings that might come up, right? If hey, credit's not in so hot of shape, if maybe you fell over on one of your deals after 2008 or 2009, and maybe there's a bankruptcy there or something like that. We understand those sort of things happen. Show us some areas where you compensate for that as a borrower, and we'll get comfortable with that.
Are you evaluating people on an LLC level or personally when it comes to loan applications? Both? How does that work? That's
a really great question, Steph. So we are a commercial lender, which means we only lend to entities, typically LLCs. Okay. We usually will look at the operator of the LLC. That's typically our go-to, because obviously there's somebody behind that LLC that's running the show, right, that's managing it, and we want to understand how competent they are to complete the job, right? Because an LLC, let's just face it, it's just some paperwork, right? Yeah. And it's a shell to protect, asset protection purposes. Right. So there are instances where, an LLC has a really good financial statement and financial profile, right? And a good track record. And, there's multiple principals in that LLC. And so it comes down to, hey, who do we really underwrite in the LLC as the operator? It's kind of tough. There's multiple people, but man, this LLC is in really good shape financially and has done some really good things. So we'll take a look at the entity as a whole. So, not a common occurrence, but to answer your question, yeah, sometimes we'll look at that.
Okay. Yeah. That was more of a personal question. I was interested to know.
Yeah, it's a big one because a lot of people, you just started your LLC. A lot of investors, you've just started, say I'm a rookie investor. I'm just getting started. I got the LLC. There's really nothing behind it other than me. But, you're loaning to the LLC, but you're also looking at me and my experience. So say I'm a new investor. I don't have a track record of, fixing properties and selling them. This is my first flip, my first, renovation. When you're saying you experienced, do you take into account, say, I'm a general contractor, or I've done roofing for 10 years, or framing for 5, or how do you look at experience if someone they haven't flipped a whole house before, they haven't done the whole package, but they got skills in certain parts of that package? How do you look at that?
Yeah, I love that question. So we'll look at the entire picture and package of that investor, right? So to your point, Zach, hey, I'm an investor and I've got 20 years as a contractor, and I've done hundreds of client jobs and renovated kitchens and bathrooms and entire homes, total gut jobs, but I haven't executed a whole deal on my own. Again, we'll go back to that compensating factors compensation. Say, okay, maybe you haven't executed a deal on your own, but you got some cash, right? Like you got a couple $100,000 in the bank account. You got 20 years experience as a contractor. Credit's in good shape. Okay, I'll finance your deal, especially if the deal pencils out. Because that's the other part of what we look at is, we're going to underwrite the individual project. And if it's a screaming deal, we'll do that. I've got an example. So there's a guy I work with. He's out in actually Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, another part of my territory. He bought a couple of properties back in 2014, and at the time, what was really kind of a distressed area. He bought them for like $10,000. Well, this area has gone through rapid appreciation. He hasn't done much to the properties. They've kind of sat there. He's got some tenants in one, but they need some work. He hasn't completed a job, but he's got 20 years as a contractor. He purchased these assets at $10,000, and they're worth probably $80,000 as is now. So he came to me and said, hey, can you lend to me? And I took a look at his background and, the assets that he has, and got into my underwriting team, and I made a pitch to them on why we should finance those, and those are going to close next week because the deal is just a can't miss, right? He could fall over 10 times on those deals and still make money, and we have the confidence that he won't fall over because he's a good contractor, and we've seen some some pictures of his work that he's done, and he's got some letters of recommendation from clients. So we take all that into account in consideration.
No, that's really good to hear. And if I'm hearing you right, and correct me if I'm wrong here, so this gentleman, he has the assets. He doesn't have the cash to fix them. So he's coming to you to fix assets, and the asset is basically the collateral. So he's not having to bring a ton of cash to the table on this deal because he's bringing the asset that he already owns.
Yeah, actually, he's not bringing anything to the table. We're cutting him a check at close. This is a cash-out refinance deal. He's got one of these properties about half done. I walked through it. He's totally gutted it. He's got the electrical done. He's got some framing done, some drywall, right? And so because of that, we look at that and say, hey, you've added some value. We know you bought it for $10,000, but you also put about $40,000 into it. He's a little strapped for cash right now. Say, hey, you've got an asset where you've put $50,000 into it, including your purchase. It's valued at much higher than that. Sure, we'll use that as your skin in the game. We'll cut you a check to not only help get you some liquidity back and work on some of your other projects, but also pump that money back into this deal so we can get you to complete that job and sell it, and then he's rolling from there.
Right, and that's really awesome because that's an example of someone you're lending to. They're not bringing any money into the game. They're taking assets that they already own that they're working on, and using that for their leverage. And now when it's all said and done, he's going to end up with these properties that are going to be fully renovated. And either, I don't know what the end game here for that gentleman is. He's going to either sell them and make a ton of profit, pay you back and take his profit, or he's going to get them to the point where they're lendable, put them into a long-term finance, and continue to rent them out or something like that. But either way, all the parties win.
Exactly. You can go to either exit strategy there, right? And there's typically one of three exit strategies. It's either, somebody sells it and we get paid off at the sale. They refinance through a bank when that property does have some value added to it and becomes lendable by a bank. Or, people with deep pockets, if they, don't do either of those options for some reason, they'll just cut us a check. But yeah, to your point, right, for him, he's going to add the value. He's going to have a bank come in and cash him out at, 70 or 75% LTV or something like that, more than enough to pay our loan back. And then he's got a cash flowing asset that, we'll take him into his next deal.
Right. What I love about that story is that it emphasizes what we were talking about earlier, and that's that Fund That Flip really seeks relationships. It's not an email and a phone call and a check. It's you are out there looking at the property. You listen to his story about what he had done, in his professional life, and looking at him as an individual, as you put that product together for them. So I know it's good to hear that there are financial institutions out there looking to do that, and I'm not saying that's unique or exclusive to you guys necessarily, but it's good to hear some stories behind that and kind of how that takes shape in a real world scenario.
And it shows the creativity here that, if you bring in the right partner, that you can take this asset that you own and not bringing any cash out of his pocket, he's taken this asset that he owned and he's improved it, made a better place for the tenants. He'll get a bank loan on it, and most likely he'll never come out any cash out of pocket, and everyone involved in the deal, from the owner to the tenants to the different funding sources, they'll all come out as a winner. But one thing you mentioned, Dave, in that talk, we got to go to a break here, but I want to hit when we come back is you mentioned that you went out to that property and looked at it. That's, to me, that seems pretty unique. So when we come back, let's hit on that for a little bit. And so right now you're listening to Mosaic Property Solutions on WINT Integrity Radio, 101.5 FM, 1330 AM.
We'll be back after these messages.
Local and family owned. That's Clements Construction Company. Trustworthy, dependable, honest. Looking to get a new roof this year or add a deck, front porch, or garage? Book now and avoid the rush. Clements Construction completes your home improvement package by adding windows, siding, and doors. They do it all. Count on Clements Construction for all of your home construction projects this spring. We've been serving your local community for over 30 years. Honest, dependable, fair. That's Clements with a K. Clements Construction. Visit roofingbyclementsconstruction.com.
Atlas Cinemas is always looking for bright, energetic people to join their staff and to help them continue providing the best possible movie-going experience for their patrons. Atlas Cinemas is now hiring at the Atlas Diamond Center 16 in Menor, off Heisley Road. Do you like free movies? Are you at least 16? Just download an application, fill it out, and stop by the theater to turn it into management. Apply and speak to a manager today. Visit atlascinemas.net/jobs.
Thanks for sticking with us, guys. You're listening to Mosaic Property Solutions. My name's Stephanie. I'm here with my co-host, Zach, and we have David Duggan here with us today from Fund That Flip. And guys, we've generated a lot of really great content today. I don't know about you, but I find myself even in real time learning quite a bit. So if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our email address is contact@mosaic-homes.com. Again, that's contact us at Mosaic, MOSAIC-homes.com. And before we left for the break, we were talking about at the very end there that you actually go out, Dave, and you visit the properties and see the projects, as you're making your decisions about loanability and putting a loan product together. So I think that's a good place to pick back up and to focus back in on how does that relationship manifest between you and your prospective buyer.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of loans, and I've never had a bank come and look at my project. Yeah, the banker has never showed up to the site. They might have sent an appraiser out there, but I've never had the bank come and look at one of my projects. So tell me a little bit about how that works. That's pretty interesting and pretty powerful to hear.
Yeah, so I run around, I probably told everybody in the opening here, I run around Northeast Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, and most of my job is actually being out in market, in the field, and not only, I spend a lot of time in coffee shops, right? Just meeting with my borrowers, understanding, hey, how's your business going? Where are you headed? What's in the hopper for you? And where can we help? But the other portion of what I do is visiting projects a lot. And I visit projects in all different stages, whether it's, one of my clients gives me a call and says, hey, I'm looking at 123 Main Street. I want to put an offer in. Can you come check it out and tell me your feedback? Happy to, right? And I'll make the drive over to wherever that is, and we'll go check the property out. To, hey, properties mid-construction, or just demoed. I've been into some properties that are in really rough shape, but kind of that blank slate for our investors, and then going into the finished product. And for me, it's a couple of things, right? It gives me an understanding of who our borrower is, right? What their MO is in the real estate space, what their quality of work is. I can then take that and deliver that to the rest of my team, right? The risk people, the spreadsheet people that are kind of pulling comps and, looking at data, and I can give them the human element of it and say, this is why we should fund this person's deal. And sometimes I'll go and check out projects, and I've had some of our newer clients, kind of feel like, hey, you're not coming to shake me down for my money, right? You're not coming from my knees. Like that's not the purpose of why I go out to these properties. It's more of just, hey, getting an understanding of who they are and building that relationship and having a comfortability with one another. And I think it's really fascinating looking at some of these projects, whether it's, something that's intended to be a rental, a new fix and flip, or going to a plot of dirt and watching a new build project go up. So that's just how we operate, and I think it adds that human element and that artistic element to our underwriting and risk approach.
It makes you feel like you're actually a valued member, a part of this partnership, right? I mean, after all, the borrower is the owner of the property. They're the one taking a lot of risk, and it makes you feel like, you've got a real partner in this deal with you, that they're going to come by, they're going to look at it, they got skin in the game, they want to make sure that I know what I'm doing, but they also want to make sure if I'm getting into issues that you can give some advice. And, I've never had a bank show up at a property, ever. They just don't do it, right? They give the loan, they walk away. The only time you'll ever hear from them again is when they come to foreclose on you, or when they send you a letter saying you've paid off the loan.
Well, that's a really cool aspect to the relationship, is that Fund That Flip can be a sounding board for, is this a viable project? Because your job is to poke holes in it, right? Mm-hmm. Ask those questions, and if they can fill those holes with an explanation or help you understand, great. But if not, and then the deal doesn't go through, but it wasn't a viable project to begin with, you're stopping that investor from making a bad decision. I can't think of a more special relationship, really, than that when it comes to your financial partner. Well, not just somebody who's deciding if I'm worthy of their money, but it's somebody who, with a trained eye, is helping me understanding what I'm doing.
Actually cares that you're successful. Like, the bank really doesn't care if we make money on projects or not. A traditional bank cares less about our profitability. All they care about is that they get their loan payments and the loan gets paid in full on time. And you'll never hear about them, anything from them ever again. And they're never going to call you up saying, hey, that was a great project, you want to do another one? Yes. So part of being a soft money, hard money lender, private money lender is you've got skin in the game and you actually care about the success of the individual that's doing this work. And I find that to be just really, really awesome that you guys actually go and look at the project and give some feedback and potentially protect someone from making a dumb deal. Because the bank will loan on a dumb deal if they're going to get paid back.
Right. He also mentioned earlier, though, that he's turned away prospective borrowers because you looked at the project as a one and done. You want multiple projects. You want to see it lining up into the future as this is where we start, but it's not where we finish. There will be more projects. So that already, the very culture of the product and the human capital that you guys have on that flip is kind of wrapped around that idea. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head with all those points. So that partnership is what we're looking for. We're looking for a partner and somebody that views us as a partner as well. Mm-hmm. Somebody comes to us and does one deal for us or with us that's, $100,000 loan. Like, great, we appreciate the business, but if that's all they ever do with us, it doesn't make a whole lot of business sense for us, right? Like our time is better spent with our true partners that, are going to come to us and look at us as, hey, this is my financing partner, at least on this segment of my business, and I'm going to lean on them to finance those deals and know that, to your point, Stephanie, that somebody with a trained eye is going to give me their feedback as well. I think, we try and resemble the private money relationship. Now, just with the way our business is structured and some of the horsepower that we have behind us as far as financial backing, there are some boxes that we need to check that's a little bit different than private money. But I try and make it so, like, when people are thinking about where am I going to get money, they're not thinking of necessarily fund that flip as like this mega corporation that they're going to go get money from. They're like, I'm going to call my guy David and he's going to come out and he's going to check out the property and then we're going to get a deal done and it's going to get done in 2 weeks and everything's going to be great. So like, that's how we try and operate. And
I think every investor would want something like that. Got him on speed dial or whatever, and I'm gonna call him. He'll be out here as soon as he can.
And it seems to me like, also, like, you're not just getting a lending source. You're getting an actual partner in the deal where, you're going to pay a little bit more on interest rate, but again,
potentially
you're going to pay.
I keep on correcting you because it depends on how the underwriting works out, and I wanted that to be clear.
And we could talk more about that, but that's fine. You're right. Yes.
But traditional banks are the cheapest money there is. A traditional bank, exactly. But they are not a partner in this. In the sense that they're going to come out and they're going to help you, they're going to give you advice, they're going to say, hey, this is a bad idea. They're not going to do any of that. So you go over to the other side with soft money, hard money lender, fund that flip, and you're coming in there on the relationship based side of this. You're going to be the relationship that we go to. You're going to help out in the deal. You're more than just here's a wad of cash, go. So we've kind of hit that a lot about the relationship aspect and whatnot. What are you guys lending on? What are you not lending on? I do a lot of multifamily properties. So for me, we buy a lot of apartment buildings, things of that nature. Stephanie's much more into the single family home market. So how as an investor, what projects do you want?
Awesome question. So we focus in the purely residential space, 1 to 4 family. Investment properties, right? And typically we're looking for some sort of value add component there, whether it's, the simplest carpet and paint, or if you're doing a full gut rehab or a ground up new build. Those are the components that we look at in a good deal that fits our model. Are there some areas where we stretch? Yeah, you bring me a 6-unit building. Yeah, there's probably something I can do there, right? Mm-hmm. If there's something that's maybe has a commercial component to it, I think we're willing to take a look at it as long as it's primarily residential use. So that is our core focus, is the residential housing market. So I pose the question for the two of you is, where are you guys looking for deals? And I shouldn't say where are you looking for deals, but more of like, what type of deals are you looking for? Kind of where are you headed in this current market and for the next year or so, as far as the type of properties you're looking for?
I'm going to go first because mine's going to be shorter. So my husband and I, we focus on fully furnished temporary rentals. So people will think Airbnbs, but it's also corporate rentals. It's We work with insurance companies when families are filing issues with their home due to fire or flood. They need somewhere to stay, but all their stuff has been damaged. So things like that. So we look for single family homes. So 2 to 3 bedrooms, 1 to 2 bathrooms, something that could accommodate a family, but also just like a traveling salesperson or professional that just needs somewhere to stay. So if it needs a ton of work, that doesn't scare us. Obviously, it creates a longer timeline, but if the price is right, that doesn't scare us at all. Our current house that we have in Bedford that we're doing the short-term rentals with was a hoarder house, complete gut. So, and it was fun. At the end of the day, we're very proud of our product. But we also more recently purchased a condo downtown Cleveland, and it was fully furnished and like ready to go. So, we're focused on our customers and our market, which are those couple of people, like the travelers, vacationers. There's stuff with COVID and hotels maybe feeling kind of scary for people right now. So it's been truly a booming market. We've been very pleasantly surprised at how well they've done.
Well, and that's like really great, there, because like everybody's got a niche in this industry, right? Like you don't want to be this big shotgun approach where you invest in everything. You've got a real niche that you guys are focused on, and it is. Where the niche is the furnished rentals, the corporate rentals, so probably good neighborhoods, I would presume, yes. Places where people are safe, near businesses. Near
businesses, so big business parkways and, of course, attractions, right? So downtown Cleveland, you've got all the stadiums and things like that. So you just want to be near where people are going to travel. Cleveland Clinic is another big draw, so you want to be near those campuses as well. So those are the types of things we look for, both on kind of the functionality of the space, but also geographically, and really staying within Cuyahoga County for us, at least for now, would be what we're looking for.
But even within that niche of the furnished rentals, it sounds like your business breadth is huge as far as buy a hoarder house, fix it up, do full renovation and everything else, and then on the same token, you turn around and buy one that's fully furnished, ready to go. So it's...
If the numbers work, they work, So sometimes you don't always know what you're looking at until you get into the spreadsheet to be sure, but you're right.
But it's almost like it doesn't matter what niche you're in, they're all pretty wide when you really get into it. And, again, you've got one that's fully furnished, already turnkey. That's going to be probably a traditional bank loan type thing. Then you got one that's a hoarder house that no bank is ever going to loan on. So you're looking for,
with 3 beds in the garage when we got it. Yeah. just to give you an idea. But that's a little bit of the detail. But right. A bank would look at that and be scared. Right. What can we do with this? So that's me. But Zach, how about you?
So we're mostly in the multifamily at this stage. We're buying for long-term hold properties. The single-family market is so hot right now. It doesn't make sense most of the time to buy them as long-term holds. Just the prices are so high. So that's where someone who's flipping would be great. This market's great for a flipper to come in. And then there's. We just are in the multifamily because they cash flow so much better right now. So that's where we've been kind of focusing on. We're selling some of our single-family homes just because the prices are so high. We sold one last weekend, which was really nice. It was probably going to someone that was in your market, furnished rental. We had a little cottage, beachfront cottage, really awful property, but spectacular location. And, it's...
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Don't just call it an awful property.
Yeah, I'd say it's an awful property because it's, as a single family home, it probably wouldn't be a great place to... It's right on the water, so it's nice, but it was a 800 square foot house.
Tiny.
Yeah, tiny home. I don't know many people that want to live in a 800 square foot house and that are going to buy it for $100,000. But it's great for someone coming in for short term. So that's not our market. We didn't want to be in that market. We had the house. We bought it as a long term hold a long time ago. Now all of a sudden you're looking at values and it's worth double what we bought it for, and it's going to a different market. It's out of our asset class. So basically we sold that house. We're going to take that money and we'll move it into an apartment building or something of that nature.
So I think after the break, it would be good to hear kind of how on that flip could potentially involve themselves in that in those situations, or if it's not a fit, that's good to know too, because there are certainly other types of deals that you guys would be good for. So you guys are listening to Mosaic Property Solutions on WINT Integrity Radio, 101.5 FM, 1330 AM, and we'll be back after these messages.
Want to get your life back and gain control of your health? Call a family-owned business in Euclid. Infield Chiropractic. Dr. Paul Infield and Dr. Kara Berger provide hands-on active care for families, kids, active seniors, and anyone wanting better health. Dr. Paul's philosophy is get your life back, empowering you to take control of your health. Your calls are greeted by a welcoming smile. The doctors at Infield Chiropractic provide sports physicals year-round for $25. Visit Infield Chiropractic on Lakeshore Boulevard in Euclid or infieldchiropracticclinic.com.
As you feel the cool blades of grass beneath your bare feet, a subtle breeze stirs the green leaves over your favorite shade tree. You're sipping iced tea and basking in the warm spring sun, admiring the beauty and solitude of your landscape backyard. You weren't sure, but now you're glad you called Ward's Lawn Care and Landscape. It was one of the best and easiest decisions you've ever made. Now for the tough one. Where should you put that hammock?
Visit wardslawncare.com. Ward's Lawn Care and Landscape. No work, no worry. Ward's.
Guys, thanks for sticking with us. This is Stephanie with Mosaic Property Solutions. I'm here with my co-host Zach and Dave Duggan from Fund That Flip. And prior to the break, we had kind of left off with the different strategies that Zach and I are currently deploying right now in the market. And we would love to hear from you, Dave, how Fund That Flip could potentially be involved in those types of strategies. If it's not a fit, it'd be good to know that too. So just to kind of remind everybody, I focus on temporary rentals or short-term fully furnished rentals. Zach's more on a multifamily long-term hold. Take it away, Dave. What do you think?
Yeah, so you're both doing fascinating strategies, especially here in the Cleveland market. Makes sense, right? Some buy and hold, some rental type strategies. I see a lot of that here in the Cleveland market. As far as what you're doing, Stephanie, right? You mentioned some of your stuff has been hoarder homes, full gut rehab type of things. That's right up our alley. We love that kind of stuff. Anything with a value add component, especially me in particular, I like the big chunky value add stuff. That's us. As far as some of the other deals you've done where it's more fully furnished, turnkey, downtown condo, or even if it's more suburban or residential, if it lacks that true rehab component, we could probably do a deal, but it wouldn't make sense, right? It wouldn't make sense for you because our benefit is really not only helping with the acquisition, but helping add that value to the property to get you to your exit strategy. So as far as what you're doing, that's how I kind of see it. And again, talk about capital stack. You could kind of manipulate your capital stack to say, hey, what would be the best fit to take to more of my turnkey stuff versus, hey, who am I going to go to? Big kind of gritty rehab projects, and that would be a good fit for us. Zach, as far as what you're doing, multifamily can get kind of it's kind of a gray area, as I mentioned before, right? We advertise 1 to 4 family. We really try and stick within that asset class. If you're buying a 3-unit or a 4-unit, and again, there's that value add component, we're on that all day for you. Mm-hmm. If you're buying a 6-unit or an 8-unit, I'm listening. We're having a conversation about that. If you start to get much more than that, there's typically, some sort of threshold that we're going to run into where I'm going to say, hey, this is just a little bit out of our asset class, a little bit outside of what we do, and we're not really comfortable with it because we start to lose our trained eye there. We start to not be able to put a good value on it, and so that would make sense to take to a banking relationship or somewhere else. And again, you start to look at your total portfolio of assets and can decide, hey, which one's going to be good for my private money people, which one's going to be good for my banks, and where does Fund That Flip come into play. And I always lean toward, hey, if it's got a big value add component, I want to see it.
Right. And I really appreciate that, like hearing that. We are in the multifamily, and they're mostly smaller multifamilies, and that's exactly it. And we're in kind of the niche of multifamily, and you're not in that niche, but things kind of overlap a little bit. There's always a gray area. It doesn't go straight from black to white, and again, that's, I think, that partnership that we talked about. If you've got a long-term client that's doing a lot of deals with you, and all of a sudden they have something that's a little bit outside your class but not too far, you're still there for them, right?
Absolutely, right? If somebody brings me a 10-unit apartment, it's the first time I've talked to them, I'm probably not going to do that deal, right? But if somebody's done 30 deals with us and say, hey, look at this 8-unit, it's got pencils out really well, what do you guys think? Yeah, I'm more likely to do that deal, especially for somebody with a proven track record and a good relationship.
I think it's a good idea to just get in the habit of any deal that comes down, kind of bounce it off of you, right? Because we're going to evolve in terms of our relationship, but you guys are going to evolve as an institution and the spaces that you're looking to get into as well. So guys, listening today, knowing that this is primarily what Fund That Flip does, know that that's ever evolving and being assessed for what's appropriate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I tell that to everybody I speak with, right? Like, if you are looking at a deal and you're wondering, hey, can David do this? Can Fund That Flip do this? Call me. Let's talk about it. I'd rather hear about it and, tell you whether or not we can do it than have you just assume that it's something we can't do. So
I bet you're the voice of the customer internally as well, because if you start getting a lot of inquiries about a scenario that people want funded, you can bring that in, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we could just be a website where somebody punches information in and the website spits out the term sheet and it's kind of take it or leave it. We don't want to be that, right? We want to have that human element. So there are underwriting people and risk people involved in my organization. It's just the nature of our business model, and they all do a really great job. But sometimes they need to hear from somebody like me who's met with the borrower, who's gone out and checked out the project and understands the entire picture. And I can be that voice of reason and turn a no into a yes often.
Right, and again, you're a pretty agile company. It's not everything's not black and white.
We're not Chase Bank.
Yeah. Right. Like you can make your own decisions.
Yeah, 100%. So I did want to chat with you guys because I think, Zach, one thing you mentioned was you're finding yourself maybe turning down some, I shouldn't say turning down opportunities, but the housing market is so hot right now that you're almost getting away from the single family home asset class. Inventory is tough out there to find, and you're kind of headed more toward.
Yeah, the inventory's been so hard to find. The prices that, the value that you could get 4 or 5 years ago just isn't there anymore. I don't see as many of these huge value add opportunities out there just because there's so many people are in the market right now. Interest rates are so low. It's really tightening up, and it's great for, some people. It's working really well for them, especially the flippers. And, when they do find those properties, there's good money to be made. Our business isn't that. Our business is long-term hold, and that's something where I really try hard to stay focused on is we have a niche. This is what we do. We're really good at this. Let's not vary. We've gone outside the box a few times, and we've got burned a few times, and well,
I've heard that a lot of people will say that being a good investor is actually quite boring to a degree. And I only mean that in a sense that you're hitting the same button and doing the same thing over and over again. You're just replicating because you found what works.
Right. Yeah. We know what works well for us.
It's not boring in other senses.
Right. We know what works well for us. Right. We know what doesn't. And right now the single family homes aren't working as well. Not that we wouldn't, buy something if it was a great opportunity, but for example, that one that we sold, that is a great opportunity for someone to turn into like an Airbnb. That's the highest and best use of that property. That's not the business that we run. I don't want to get into that business because it's, again, any energy you put into this business, you're taking out of your other business. So we have one that runs really well. We've got the systems in place, and I'd like to just focus on growing that.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a niche business, too, because we're not in those big apartment buildings. We don't have any, 20, 30, 40 unit buildings. We're in those converted buildings. So sometimes that falls into your, 1 to 4 units. Sometimes it's the 6 and 8 units, but we're kind of in that unit where things are too small to have on-site management.
Yeah. Are you also seeing some challenges, Stephanie, with just housing inventory and the assets that you're looking for?
Yeah. They're selling fast. We've talked about it in other shows where people are reassessing their home space and wanting more of a home office. So it's causing, people to kind of move around, or that, that's speculating. We don't know for sure. We don't have data behind it, but yeah, a lot of retail buyers out there driving price points up. So, we're really focusing on optimizing what we have instead of acquiring new, at least for now, until that kind of subsides.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I'm seeing a lot of that and hearing a lot of that out in market right now. I think the name says it all. Fund That Flip, right? When we started as a company, that was our go-to. If you had a flip property, we were going to do it for you. Still the case, but just given the market conditions, we're seeing less fix and flip properties right now. And the ones that we are seeing, a lot of them are lower margins, and oftentimes they're properties that some people are taking on just to keep their business moving, right? To keep their crews busy, and to keep that machine turning. I think we're seeing a lot more value-add rentals because you don't need those big chunky margins in those like you do with the fix and flip, or a lot of kind of urban infill or ground-up new build construction, in opportunity zones, in some of these gentrifying areas. And we've seen something as simple as a single-family home go up. We've got quite a few of those to 10 or 20 units that are individually deeded condos or townhomes. So we're kind of seeing our spectrum expand a little bit and getting good in some of these other areas that aren't just fix and flip. And to your point, Zach, that's where our agility comes into play, and we can kind of morph with the market and the ebbs and flows.
Right. No, that's awesome to hear that. That's it. As investors, we look at everything out there, right? We don't always act on it all, but we see everything, and you as a lender, you're seeing these changes in the market probably faster than we are. Especially, I'm thinking, as Stephanie mentioned, the market's changing. People want they want home offices now. They need that home office space. So a lot of those fix and flips might be not full rehabs anymore. They might just be reimagining existing spaces, and people buying a house and moving around some walls. So you hit that open floor plan, you hit a home office, you hit check some of these boxes where the value is.
Sure. I think, traditionally it's always, hey, what's the square footage? What's the bed bath count, right? And more beds and baths, the better. Now all of a sudden you're seeing, well, it's not really a 4-bedroom. It's going to be a 3-bedroom with a home office. And I've seen some really creative stuff. People are doing, touchless appliances and, touchless doorknobs and adding some new technology to their spaces to make them, more home office friendly, more COVID friendly, right? So there's a lot of reimagining things going on right now that it's interesting.
Wow, yeah, it's an interesting world to be a member of right now, and knowing that infrastructurally people are changing their homes, seeking out purchasing new homes with all of these new accoutrements, I guess we could say, is really fascinating to hear.
And stay with us. We've got to end this show here today, but next week we'll have a show. We'll be talking a little bit about that design element. You've been listening to Mosaic Property Solutions. I'm Zach Weaver here on WINT Integrity Radio, 101.5 FM, 1330 AM. You're here with my co-host.
And I'm Stephanie Hyde. Guys, thanks so much for staying with us. Something else I want to add is that you guys, we do encourage you to reach out to Dave directly should you have any additional questions for him. We've really clipped the tip of the iceberg with this episode. So, Dave, what's the best way that people can reach you?
You can call me. My cell phone number is 440-371-7783. Email is also a great way. It's just david.duggan, and Duggan is Buggan, at fundthatflip.com.
Perfect. So, guys, reach out to him, reach out to us. Again, contact us at mosaichomes.com, and that's mosaic-homes.com.
Correct.
And thanks again. We'll see you guys again next week.